Hello. It's been brought to my attention that there are some things that aren't exactly clear, and there's some confusion on when you're counting different types of services from the required services in your LURA. So, in your LURA, some of your service options say that they are quarterly, or there are a couple that are even annual type services. Now, if your LURA says that and you do that, it counts for the entire year, counts for the entire month. So, for example, some people have the option to do an annual health fair. And while on one hand, that sounds very attractive because you have to do this one service once a year for this point that counts every single month. Um, the scary part of that service is if something happens and you can't have that annual health fair for some reason, if people cancel or um, you have to reschedule and you don't get it in within the year, then you counted on that point for the entire year and then it didn't happen. And so then you're missing a point. It's the same with the quarterly services. There's quarterly health and nutrition, quarterly financial, quarterly law enforcement partnerships where you do a quarterly social. Okay, all of those count every single month of the quarter, not just the month you do the service in. But you have to do it once in that quarter for it to count. So if you have not been doing your quarterly service, you have to start it and do it in that quarter, but it still counts every single month as long as you are fulfilling what the LURA says, which is quarterly. So between January and March, you have to have that service. And then again, in April through June, you have to have that service. And then in July through September, you have to have that service. And then October through December, you have to have that service. Okay, so for those of you who have chosen to have quarterly services, they're really great because instead of having to do something every week or every month or twice a month, you only have to do it once a quarter, and it counts towards your points needed every single month. But then again, if you don't do it, then that whole quarter you didn't do it, you will not be getting those points. So hopefully that makes a little more sense. Expanding on the law enforcement partnership, I tried really hard to get as many agreements with the local law enforcement for y'all on file as possible. It's not a requirement of the LURA, but it just helps with our documentation showing that the local law enforcement know that we want to have this partnership. They're aware that once a quarter, we're going to be inviting them to a fun event. And also, the specific thing in the LURA says that it's for a social event to promote relations. It is not an event for them to come and do a presentation for you. This is a fun event you're having at your property that you want the local law enforcement to come and have fun with you at. Okay, it says it specifically in the LURA that once a quarter you invite them to come to a fun event on your property. You can also ask them to do a presentation, but that is not what the agreement says and is asking. The agreement says you are going to invite them to a social event quarterly on your property. So if you are planning to have a Valentine's Day party and you invite the local law enforcement in February, January you get those 3 points, February you get those 3 points, and March you get those 3 points because you had it in that quarter. And then again in the second quarter, You get the 3 points every single month as long as you have it during one of those 3 months of the quarter. Hopefully that helps y'all understand that a little better. If you don't, please reach out to me. I thought I had said it and explained it multiple times, but if I didn't, hopefully this clears it up. And then also the contracted career placement service, where you have to have the contract or agreement in place. While that doesn't specifically say quarterly, what it specifically says is that we need the contract in place. You have to still try to reach out and do something with Workforce Solutions, because if you only have a contract and it was signed 2 or 3 years ago and you have no documentation from them sending you things or you asking for things or you advertising things, then it really doesn't count. So while the agreement is the most important part of that service, you still have to be in contact with your contact at the workforce office to make it count. So hopefully that clears up a few things on some of these quarterly or not, weekly or monthly services and how they count towards your points that you are required to do. And as always, if you have questions, shoot me an email and I can try to explain it further. But I thought having a video might help make it a little clearer than me just sending out an email. Have a great day. Thanks.